We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And for round 4 of the F1 Creator Series, the lights go out and we go racing in Baku. It's a good pull away from Gillen, but GB has the jump, the softer tyres, looking to try and make an advantage around the outside. Can't quite get it at the first traction zone, but he might be able to dive into the second corner. Gillen holds second as we have 3 wide further back. That's Scotty Designs getting involved with Meraki and Karim, I believe, but running down towards turn number 3 now, side by side between Gillen and GB. Who's going to be later on the brakes? The Aston Martin tries to swing it around the outside, does so with pure precision. The Aston Martin makes it second place.
Beautiful, and GB has Gillen already in his back pocket. Team at Martin launching it up the inside of a couple of cars. Same with Adam Sands, and both teammates tried to move forward in unison. Terrible start for Tom97, by the way. He's gone from 5th on the grid down to 10th now, back up into 9th as he gets ahead of Scott Taylor. Big cluster of cars coming out of the middle sector. As look at this, the Williams side by side with the Red Bull of Guats. Is Tom97 trying to make up for lost time. I saw and I heard a little bit of contact in there. Nobody looks like they've got any front wing damage so far.
So far, so good. 2 wide through the castle section. I saw slightly further back between Lolly Nova and Scott Taylor. That's Tom97's rear end wanting to kick out as well as we make our way down through turns 13, 14 and 15. And it's such a tight corner as they head through 15. Any wrong move and you find yourself flying into that barrier at absolute light speed. Formula Kai, who crashed out of a Singapore race slightly earlier on this afternoon, will be looking for redemption here in Baku. A very similar characteristic style circuit to Singapore is Baku, and now has a charge on Alex Gillen, who has lost the DRS, more importantly, to GB68, who in turn has lost it to Razin Chai. 2.3 seconds is the disadvantage between first and second.
I wonder if Alex is potentially using this hard tyre to try and split up the pack a little bit and eradicate any chances for a long DRS train. Formula Kai gaining all the time, no DRS enabled just yet. Tom97 still making moves, trying to recover from that poor start from 5th down to 10th, back up into 8th. Had a little look up the inside of Infratic into turn number 1, but holding firm in position 8 and 7 for the time being. Places trading once more. Kareem 17 started the main straight in 14th, now finds himself occupying position number 11. As here we go, it's only a matter of time. Formula Kai with much more grip and confidence on those soft tyres relegates Alex Gillen, our championship leader, down a further spot.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. I think Gillen's plan here is go on the hard tyre, hold up as much of the field as he can do, wait for them to then pit earlier, and then he can essentially pit onto softer tyres in free air and try to run away from that. Timo Mardi gets to move past two champions. Oh, almost Gillen having to be forced into the wall there, and now Noguera fancies his chances on the run down towards turn number 7. It's a tight right-hander. You don't necessarily want to go side by side through it, and both of them, with the race knowledge that they have, getting through there nice and calmly indeed. Have a quick look at the tyres, nothing changing from that first lap. It's still Gillen on hards. He's surrounded by a sea of red practically. Of course, Noguera, the only driver around him on the mediums at the moment.
Now, I don't think he will be particularly enamoured by that driving from Tim McMahon. Yes, he had a bit of a snap, but Alex Gillen was millimetres away from having his car pushed into the barriers, and more fireworks, yet more fireworks between Tim McMahon and Alex Gillen. Still Razin Chai running away out in front, 2.7 seconds the margin. And as we said, Alex Gillen is very much splitting up the DRS train. 2.6 seconds between first and second, 2 seconds between second and third, and a second and a half between third and fourth. And it might be Noguera soon occupying position number 5.
It certainly could be. It's going to be a close fought battle. Maybe not for Razin Chai as much. Of course, he's made some changes to hopefully avoid his game crashing this week. We understood and learned that he once kept his PC hostage in a cupboard, at least amongst his desks, which could have caused the overheating that we saw last time out. I believe he has moved it onto the carpet to at least get it some airflow for this week and propped it up on something to at least give it a little bit of fresh air going through it. But how long that holds up could be a question of longevity here, Tom.
100%. And if we do see that message come up at the bottom that Razin Chai is disconnected, you will all know why. Gillen moving over to the middle of the circuit, potentially trying to spook Noguera into a bit of a mistake down into the braking zone of turn number 3, but the kick Sauber is solid in his defence of 5th position for the time being. Limited movements for some of the big names that started towards the back. Obviously, Kareem is now up into 10th position, sat right underneath the rear wing of his teammate, but Tom's still down in P16. Meraki also not making any progress, losing places, in fact. He's down in P18 with just Hayden Gullis and Scotty Designs behind him. Infratic trying to get ahead of Alex Gillen. In fact, he's already got ahead of the Papaya McLaren, and Gillen from second on the grid, still struggling to get some temperature in those hard compound tyres, now down to P7.
Yeah, it's an interesting call from Gillen here, starting on the hard tyre. Obviously, he's hoping, essentially, I think there's no safety car that's going to impede him. Of course, the rule where it's banned from the last 15 laps still plays in, so I wonder if, in theory, he's going to try and go as close to that target and that limit as possible, which, if my maths is correct, is round about lap 37, 38. as we make our way through. But sorry, 36-37 if we make our way through. But it's an interesting call to start on the hards when you're so high up the grid.
It is. I think he's maybe trying to copy a Ben Daly strategy of keeping all of your best tyres at the end or for the end of the Grand Prix. He's getting sward more than he thought, though. So a bit of a miscalculation from Alex Gillen starting on the hard tyres. If he can just take this early pain now as the two Red Bull Racing drivers swap positions, Squat's handing over to his teammate to take control of 9th position. Lolinober 1.6 seconds behind that little group, and there's actually a kick Sauber into the pits. Lolinober, I thought he may have had a bit of front wing damage as we saw them coming down the hill on the run into turn number 16. This might be him getting rid of that front wing.
Yeah, I saw that damage as well. I think it was just front right end play, and yeah, I think fresh front wing going onto that kick Sauber. The pit group doing a miraculous bit of work to get that front wing changed and apparently duplicated within 7 seconds. But the car is back out on a fresh set of the harder tyre. Looks like Nogueira's had an instant though. Into the runoff area, the kick Sauber goes.
Got to be careful with his rejoin here, whereas Jake is not that far behind. Well, he actually was quite far behind. You can see the kick Sauber absolutely throwing away an opportunity to get up onto the podium. He was sat in a bit of a DRS train with Formula Kai, Tim McMardock and Infratic, but now it's been unlucky because he's 13th and got Meraki, the former champion, Season 4 champion, to deal with on those soft tyres matching the Scarlet Ferrari of his car. And then it's Tom Biener, another former champion, that the kick Sauber's going to have to deal with also.
I'm sure we'll see exactly what happened when we throw over to Alex a little bit later on. And of course, our man with his ear to the ground and his eyes to the sky. But for the time being, we can only speculate on what went wrong for Nogueira there. My assumption would be that he'd either outbraked himself and dived to the escape road to avoid collecting anybody else, or he's tried to brake too heavy, locked the rears, and that's why we saw the car spun around.
Yeah, it could have been, I think the first one maybe more likely just getting his braking slightly wrong, going for a flick spin in the run-off area. Tom 97 is next on the scene to try and relegate Alex Gillen further down, although he's got the reigning champion to deal with. Probably, you would say, the two fastest drivers in the Create Series, Tom 97 and Kareem 70, but not always the most efficient at maximising results, the pair of them, even though Kareem did pick up that championship last season, had considerably more race victories than Tim McMardock, but Ben taking it to the final race. And speaking of the former double world champion, he is now up into 3rd position. Excellent start for Ben, it has to be said, from 7th on the grid. Got himself into 3rd. He's got 5 seconds of fresh air to try and drive into as well.
As much as that is fresh air, he won't be liking it with the the long DRS straights that present themselves here at Baku. Of course, you've got the run into turn 1 and then the run into turn 3, both opportunities where Formula Kai can open up that rear wing, get an extra bout of straight line speed, and essentially try and sail on past without burning too much battery. That'll be the worry for Ben at the moment, that he's just dragging all these cars along, punching through that air but with his own car, and of course benefiting the drivers behind without much recollection for everybody else. There's a side-by-side moment there for half a second, and that's the Williams of Tom 97, I think, trying to get past Alex Gillen or vice versa, as they're all trying to get involved. Oh, I thought Karim was going to go for a late dive. Gillen goes for a late dive, locking up the brakes, almost going side by side, and that was definitely a brown trouser moment for the Papaya McLaren.
Fortunate on a couple of counts there. A, not to pick up any damage in that battle between himself, Tom, and Kareem, and also not to pick up a corner cutting penalty. I think he was playing with fire a little bit over the apex, and very lucky not to pick up what would have been his first warning of the Grand Prix, and now has Kareem 70, his sparring partner from a couple of weeks ago in Silverstone, that was run in reverse. They had a titanic battle, I think it's fair to say, for the victory. Came close to making contact and making a little bit of a mess of it on a couple of occasions. Now battling for 7th and 8th with Gwatz, hoping to follow his teammate through as well.
Yeah, Gwatz has got the smart game here at the moment, as long as he doesn't have any wheel issues like we saw out in Canada last week, obviously forcing an early retirement for the Red Bull outfit, and this could be a good opportunity for him to follow Karim through. Karim will have the DRS and the slipstream. Look at the straight line speed. But the moment he moves out of the slipstream, he seems to lose all that benefit, as they almost look to go 3 wide in towards the first corner. Gillen cuts across of the Red Bull's face, and that's fantastic defensive driving from Alex Gillen, holding the Red Bull at bay at the moment, not allowing Karim to try and stick a nose in.
And double disaster for Tom 97, getting passed by both of them. Kareem would be the one driver he didn't want to let pass, considering the pace that we know the reigning champion has in his locker. But Kareem not particularly close to Alex Gillen on the run down into turn number 3. And we'll have to hold station in 7th for the time being, which means he's just getting ever and ever further away from the trio that lie in front of Tim McMardock, Formula Kai, and Infratic. Tom into the pits for an early stop. I believe he started on the soft tyres. Indeed, he did, so going for a bit of an undercut to try and steal a march on some of the drivers that were around him. Also get out of the DRS train that he may have found himself stuck in.
Yeah, Scott Taylor also into the pit lane, the lap that Lolly Noba went in. Fresh set of hard tyres for both himself and Lolly Noba. Scotty Designs also peeled into the pit lane with Tom himself. Hard tyres going on from the mediums that he started on, so I wonder that has to be damage for the Haas, because there's no way you'd pit after 6 laps from the mediums.
Unless they're an absolutely terrible race tyre, which we don't have too much evidence of at this stage of the Grand Prix, only halfway around lap number 6. And Tim Martin not really making any impression on the leading duo either. It's sort of the same old story for Ben. His pace just isn't quite up there with the likes of Arazenchai, the likes of Alex Gill and Kareem and GB. He's lost about a second in the past couple of laps, maybe just trying to baby his tyres, but at this stage probably think he needs to work with Formula Kai, use some DRS sharing and some DRS swapping to get themselves up towards GB and Razen, who are lapping very nicely and very consistently at this stage, and this should be fairly regulatory. The Haas is going to fly past the Mercedes and up into 3rd place.
Standard overtake from the Haas outfit, getting past Ben, and Ben's been a shell of himself coming into Season X, and it's someone that I simply compared to Sapso. Sapso was one of those drivers that on his day is incredibly quick and often shows flashes of those forms at the end of Season 9. We saw Sapso up in amongst the points, potentially even bargaining for podiums. There was a moment where he almost won a sprint race in Singapore for half a second, but Ben's had a very similar start to the season. He hasn't been the driver that we saw win that championship just a couple of seasons ago.
Clearly just not quite up to speed or returning to a form wheel that he used. It's not the same equipment he ended F1 24 with, so there is going to be a little bit of an extra added acclimatization phase for the former 2-time champion of the Create Series. Tom 97 into the pits there as well to get shot of his soft tyres. That's very early. We know this is quite considerably a rear limited circuit, and those soft tyres probably burning up fairly sharpishly. Maraki, you can just see there, I think he's missing his right hand front wing end plate as well.
Yeah, being told by Alex in the background, the rears of the soft runners are getting incredibly loose. That will be, I believe, the front 5 all opting for the softs of their opening tyre. And of course, Karim 70, who's managed to gain up, I believe, 11 positions in just 7 laps. It's been an incredible blast through the field for the Red Bulls. They've just looked unstoppable so far, and if they're able to keep up this pace over the next 40, 30 so laps, I reckon we could see Karim going from 18th to 1st. It's definitely being a possibility.
Most certainly, but he is about, 7 or 8 seconds off the lead of the race at this stage. And if he remains in that DRS trend with Kai, with Ben, with Infratic and Alex, it might be just that little bit too hard for him to try and make those inroads on that group in front. This is most definitely a DRS trend that is forming. Obviously, the tyres aren't going to be treated particularly well, those front tyres with the understeer that you're getting from the dirty air. Haven't seen too many drivers moving out of the slipstream, though, to cool the engines down as Nick Flies makes the most of some DRS to get past Datkovitz down into turn number 1. So temperatures potentially okay at this stage still.
Potentially. I mean, with the corners coming thick and fast, it's not like you're travelling directly in the rear of the slipstream of the car in front for a majority of this circuit. You'll be finding ebbs and flows to the moments where you can make the moves. Speaking of making the moves, Gillen does so on Infratic. The hard tyres might be starting to come good again, as the soft tyres, as Alex suggested earlier, the rears can be burning up, I think, quicker than they would have hoped for. But it's all about trying to follow in the moments that you want to follow, those long straights, the run down through 20 to 1 and obviously through 2 to 3. But everywhere else, you kind of want to pick your own line and stick to it if you are attacking or defending.
Yeah, just try and get into that groove, that rhythm, as you need to do at Baku. So many corners where you have to be incredibly precise. And with the added dirty air effects and the tyre temperatures and the engine temperatures, it is quite a lot to manage, especially when it's 30 plus degrees in a couple of the creators' bedrooms or offices. And Alex Gill has now got a free shot at his old sparring partner Tim Martin once again. They almost came to blows about 5 or 6 laps ago when Ben initially got past the Season 2 champion, and they might be about to cross paths once more.
Get your fireworks at the ready, folks. The lighters could be needed any moment now. It's always a little bit of drama when these two are so close on the circuit. We run through 18, 19 and 20 down towards the timing beam. I think Alex could be in a good position here to try and make a move on the Mercedes in front of him and potentially the Haas as well to see him try and regain a podium. He's in the slipstream of the cars in front. He gets past Formula Kai. Ben moves to the inside line, removing that slipstream from the Papaya McLaren. Are we going to see a late move? No. He's going to happily sit in behind for the time being and wait for the double dose of DRS that will come at the exit of turn 2.
You would imagine, though, and this might not be the easiest thing to say or hear, but Tim Monaco will probably be fairly content if Alex Gillen gets past him. He is moving over to the middle of the circuit, but those hard tyres are starting to sing and will probably be the faster tyre at this stage of the race. GB thinks he's cooking. He's managed to halve the gap between himself and Razin Chai, as Alex Gillen does just file in behind the former two-time champion Tim Monaco in 3rd and 4th, respectively. Yellow flag is out. Nick Flies is out of the Grand Prix. He has binned it down into turn number 3, and for the first time, we have a safety car, and drivers have got to be careful because that Papaya McLaren is pitched in the middle of the circuit.
He certainly is indeed. It was as the Tom 97s makes his way through his left. You see the wheel actually just still on the circuit, looking rather lonesome by itself, but we've had one faller on lap 9 of 51. So easy to do here in the Baku street circuit, and such an easy one to try and find yourself in the barriers. I'm surprised our drivers lasted 9 laps. From what I remember, every other time we visited Baku, we've had a considerable number of safety cars over the course of the seasons gone by, and quite often we are experiencing drivers in the pits. Now, just throwing back to Alex Gillen, we mentioned at the start of this, and this is something that's actually brought up by Dan Gilligan in the background. Gillen needed an early safety car, or none at all, for this hard tyre strap to work. Is lap 9 early, or is it a little bit too late for what he would have wanted?
I think it might be slightly too late. We've seen the pace that he's had. Those hard tyres are definitely starting to work. He could probably get them another 25, maybe even 30 laps with this safety car period. So Alex Gillen is going to be in a bit of a sticky situation. Does he stick or does he twist? We'll see in about 60 seconds or 30 seconds time. The leaders on the drives on the soft tyres, we would imagine, will come in. I thought Razin Chai was potentially going to stay out there, but he does come down pit road, as does GB. Ben will probably do the same, and then we'll see what Alex Gillen's got in his strategy mind.
Certainly will. I think Ben will come in. Any of the soft runners will probably come in. Gillen's in.
I feel like he had to, probably. I think he would have lost so much time. Yes, the drivers around him are going to a set of the hard tyres. I think this was time definitely too late for him, as he's going to put on the yellow strap mediums and get held, so it gets even worse for Alex Gillen. I don't know how many places he would have lost. Is potentially Tim Monaco that's been held up even more? No. And Kareem 17, in fact, has managed to... Well, I thought he spawned in position number 5. He's definitely got himself ahead of Infratic. Tom 97 was hurt a little bit by that safety car as well. I think he's going to be in P7. But Alex Gillen, I just feel like you said, was maybe a couple of laps too late for him to stay out on those hard tyres. If he did stay out, there would have been a pace disadvantage. But on the contrary to that is, we saw, especially in rounds 1 and 2, he was able to hold off drivers with fresher tyres.
He certainly has been, and I think he probably could have gone on those, stayed on the hard tyres, got the track position, obviously kind of held out for the time being, but it was probably the safer option to come in for a set of the mediums and potentially run a double medium until the end now. Probably about 41 laps until the end, but we've got another man in our ear that has more knowledge than us on all the things that have caused these safety cars and beyond. Mr. Alex Aaron, what have you got for us?
Well, I've certainly got us a few clips. Here we go. We're going to see what caused this safety car. Nick Flies chasing down the back of that guy Vince. An unfortunate crash you can see here. And a little tap on that left. And you can see in that man's face how devastated he is. He was literally in this pose, I kid you not, for maybe 3 or 4 seconds. He was very devastated by this incident. And I've got a couple of other clips to go through. You want to see what happened to Neguero. And now this is a strange one, and I think TK called it correctly. He just completely outbroke himself and ran into that first corner. You see a little shake of the head there as he just literally locked it up a little bit. I don't think he even locked up. I think he just ran a bit too deep. Yeah, that was basically where he was. He was a bit frustrated afterwards as well. And I got a little bit of a lap 2 shenanigans here between Gillen and Tim Monaco. You can see Gillen very defensively on that left-hand side there. So Ben pulls it round to the right. And then, as you can see here, a little bit of a tap. And you can see by Gillen's face, he was not overly impressed by Ben's antics. But to be fair, Gillen gave it to him a bit before in that corner. These two, they just can't keep off of each other, can they? But that is my clips, as we will return it back to you guys for the safety car segment of this race.
Well, I think those two are the personification of rubbing is racing quite often here in the F1 Creator Series. And Fortunately, no major damage has come of it, apart from Nick Flies, who found the inside of the barrier, which is a very odd one for our drivers to be able to hit and or lose a tyre from, but it has been known to happen on occasion, including this afternoon. We are on lap 11 of 51, just under 40 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and I'm almost certain that we will see another appearance of Bert Mylander as well, probably and presumably when Hayden causes carnage in the castle.
Yeah, which makes it interesting that Ben's chosen the medium tyres. I would have thought maybe he'd want to get the hards out of the way and keep those medium tyres for later on in the Grand Prix if they are indeed the best race tyre. And Alex Gillen, we spoke about it before, is he on the right strategy? Should he have stayed out? Should he have carried on? He's put himself net effectively in the same race as Ben on those medium tyres. They're going to be going a similar distance, you would imagine. That's going to be very interesting to watch, it has to be said. Emphatic also chucking on the medium tyres. He started on the softs along with Ben. So a little bit of a divergence for a couple of drivers. It's going to be fascinating to see how that develops when the safety car does indeed come into the pits.
Certainly will do indeed. GP must feel like he's in a bit of a good position here. Of course, now behind Razin Chai, that gap has been closed up once again, and they're on equal tyres heading in to essentially the middle stages of this Grand Prix. I'm sure we'll have clarification of what lap safe or intentional safety cars are being removed from in the next few moments. I'm sure we'll see that later on towards the Grand Prix, because my maths is not mathing. I think it's lap 36.
36,
but we will wait
yeah.
for confirmation.
End of 36, I would imagine. I think that should be the one. Safety car is going to stay out this lap, even though it has been known to come in incredibly late, but Scott Taylor hasn't yet caught the back of the pack, so we should be in for one more lap. I don't think it's going to come in. It would be very, very tight. Just coming over the DRS enabled line now, so I think we will be having one more lap.
Sometimes I've seen it come in as a driver catches up at that final kind of corner, and the snake's so long at this point that it does come in. But of course, they've now missed the pit entry. We are going to have at least one more lap following Bert Mylander's instructions, and now all 19 remaining cars are catching up in front of one another. Bert Mylander leads from Razin Chai from GB. Seema Malik and Alex Gillen make it third and fourth at the moment. Of course, Formula Kai coming off the back of an earlier DNF, hopefully will try and make it a good result for the Haas outfit.
He will, and he started fairly strongly on those soft tyres, had a decent first stint, was battling away with Ben, with Alex now behind them, but on the hard tyres, I think he'll be fairly happy just to sit and watch and see what progress Ben and Alex could make. There could definitely be some fireworks between those two. We've seen it before. We'll probably see it many a time in the future. And as the screen, I mean, somebody turned the lights out at Azerbaijan, but thankfully they've switched them back on, which is absolutely ideal. I'm looking at the likes of Tom 97, Lolinoba, Tom, who pitted before the safety car came out, and they're going to be thinking, shucks, I feel like I could have maybe seen this coming an early safety car, and I've just left myself with a little bit more heavy lifting to do.
Absolutely. We have a message from Alex in the chat, or in our little producer's chat. It just said it was The Undertaker. Hopefully not for our drivers' sakes, but we have got 19 still running. I think there's a few drivers in here that we're looking to try and recollect from the positions that they're in at the moment. Obviously, Scott Taylor has already done 2 pit stops in 12 laps. He pit off the softs onto a set of the hards. I think he's now gone mediums for the next stage of this race. So it is an interesting call from him, obviously wanting the fresh tyres to try and compete with everybody else. But it's only, five drivers in the mediums at the moment. Everybody else has chosen those hard tyres. Lolly Nova, Scotty Designs, and Tom 97, 3 drivers that pit slightly earlier on in the race, so they will have slightly aged tyres compared to the rest of the field, but everybody else on pretty much brand new hards. Race control gives us the notification that we will go racing at the start of lap 13. Lucky for some, maybe unlucky for others, but we are going to wait and see.
Razin got to back the pack up. He did a very good job of running away at the start of the Grand Prix, managed to put 2 seconds between himself and the chasing pack behind, but GB is looking a little bit faster than the Alpine at this stage. Managed to halve the gap, get into the DRS range before the safety car was called out. I think Raz is just going to have to keep his wits about him, because GB, if he sees an opportunity to get up into the lead and try and make it back-to-back wins in Azerbaijan, you can bet your bottom dollar he's going to take it with both hands.
Certainly will. He'll be wanting that back-to-back victory. It's his first victory, of course, in the F1 Craze Series. Lots of weaving going on by Razin Chai, slowing and getting faster with every twist and turn. GB doesn't quite know when that Alpine's going to launch. He wants to try and put himself as much alongside as possible. At the entry to the pit lane, Razin Chai puts his foot to the floor. The green flag will fly, and we're going racing once again. It's an audacious dive by Karim to the inside. That forces the Formula Kai to go drifting around that first corner. Somehow they've both made it through trouble free. That was Team Martin going for a send though, trying to get the better, I believe, of GB68, but it's paid off worse for all the drivers involved.
Well, he absolutely locked the rears up there, potentially in panic as he saw Kareem charging up the inside, and very, very lucky that both of them stayed out of the barriers as Fratic thinking about a move up the inside of Dak Govins into turn number 3. Yellow flag being thrown. We've got a car off in the background. I think it might be Lolinoba that's come a cropper down into the braking zone of turn number 3, or indeed Hayden Gullis occupying position number 19. There has been a bit of a break in the train, but so far it seems everything is all good.
Oh, that's the cleanest driver almost certainly gone for Gullis this afternoon. He broke that curse last week out in Canada. Of course, GB68 getting the bonus point there. I think Hayden Gullis is coming back now, trying to just get some good results from Baku, specifically 2 wide, almost into turn number 7. That could have ended in carnage as it was Meraki. Now Scott Taylor looking to try and make gains as we come up a cropper to the top of the castle. Fantastic moves from everybody as they try and nice and calmly file through the ancient historic parts of the city here in Baku.
And look at the gap out in front, 1.2 seconds. Razin's managed to escape once again, and GB's going to leave his hands full with Timo Malik and Alex Gillen. Remember back to Silverstone a couple of weeks ago, a controversial incident between one Aston Martin and a Mercedes, and of course it was GB and Timo Malik that couldn't keep their hands off each other. But look at this, Alex Gillen almost pushing Timo Malik through the flat-out kinks to finish lap number 13. And can the former sparring partners trade places without making contact?
That'll be the question. Slipstream, of course, no DRS enabled on this lap. They will get that as they head on towards lap 14. Side by side, Ben tries to close the door. Contact between the two drivers. Gillen has to try and back out as much as he possibly can. Will not be happy about the conduct of that one.
Well, I think he's going to be absolutely delighted watching that, Alex Gillen. I think we did see a little bit of moving in the braking zone from Ben as he just shifted Alex over to the inside. But if we go off Alex's rules, then potentially the lead car does decide the line. Now from defence to attack is Team Monica as he sends it up the inside of GB. And I wonder if GB maybe clouted the barrier there because Ben is through very, very easily. And now he's got a Papaya McLaren sending it up the inside.
Does indeed. GB, of course, on those harder tyres will have worse traction compared to the driver. 3 wide, almost in towards turns 5 and 6. How often do you see this? GB trying to hold it on with Timo Malik, does so as Timo Malik falls through the positions left, right and centre. Karim 17's through, and it's 3 wide still. Gillen to the inside of turn number 7. 3 wide as we try and get contact as we have a car falling further back. That'll be Timo Malik getting involved. I think he could have tried to let GB past, but it's just caused carnage amongst the field.
And Kareem found himself face first with the barrier there as Alex Gillen and Tim were trying their best to settle their differences and weren't very successful in doing so. It did look like Ben was trying to let GB back through. Ben's now going to have a look. He's going to have a send up the inside into turn number 15. Gillen having to back out of it, tapping the barrier. Through comes Kareem. Through comes Formula Kai. Bit of wheel bang between the McLaren and the Haas as Alex Gillen tries to hold on to as many places as physically possible. More contact as carbon fibre confetti is thrown up. No front wing damage for either driver, but Ben and Alex, both of them getting their elbows out. And I think there is most certainly no love lost between these two.
Absolutely no love lost between these two. I had a very weird noise there as Karim trying to charge down towards the first corner and gets past Tim and Marduk. This is spicing up to be a good one. Formula Guy gets past Alex Gillen, as does Infratic in towards the first corner. 3 wide again as we head into the first corner. Contact between Gillen and Tim and Marduk. The story that has been told so many times before becomes red once again, and the old rivals battling in horns here in Baku.
And Alex Gillen is quite clearly red hot now. Tom 97, the big losers. That little tap between the McLaren and the Mercedes. Saw the Williams go wide. Ben going defensive, making his move very early. Is he going to try and set it up the inside of Infratic? Wasn't quite close enough to make a dangerous and daunting move up the inside of the Ferrari into the braking zone of turn number 3, and jinking all over the place was Alex Gillen, looking for an opportunity to slide past his, well, very much rival now. Got Gwatz to deal with in the second Red Bull car. Kareem 17 has finally managed to escape from this group, but talk about escaping. Razin Chai has 5 seconds over this titanic battle.
The battling is really assisting that Alpine to try and pull away, but these two giants of the Creator Series contest have been dormant for so long. They've not come together like this in so many races, and it seems Baku just brings out a little bit of competitiveness in both of our colleagues, and it's Timo Malik that leads at the moment from Alex Gillen, but I think and I'm assured that this will not be the last fight that we will see between the two of them. Karim's trying to chase down GB to try and get up to second place in the hopes of a safety car and that all-important track position. Kai's stuck in a bit of no man's land along with Infratic, as he's got battle in front of them, battle behind them, and Kai and Infratic just kind of have to sit and watch as this unfolds.
Well, well, well. So often entangled and intertwined, aren't they, Alex Gillen and Team McMulloch? They started the restart in 3rd and 4th on the best tyres of everybody. Now 6th and 7th. Infratics managed to get through, as has Kareem, as has Formula Kai, and they've made their life just that little bit hard. I think Alex Gillen was potentially being told by Team McMulloch, you're not going to be winning 4 on the trot there, and making his feelings very, very clear to his main sparring partner, Kareem. We can't understate this either, from 18th on the grid up into 3rd, and very shortly, I believe, that is going to be 2nd as the DRS flap opens, and GB, I think, is going to be a bit of a sitting duck here. Not got too much batter, and actually Kareem, the reigning champion, fairly happy just to sit and wait behind.
Yes, interesting call from Karim. I think as soon as he moved out of that slipstream, and it's something that we've seen time and time again in this race, as soon as you move out of that slipstream, you lose so much straight line speed that you seem to have. It's not like in 24 where you move to the outside and continue to progress at that incredible straight line speed that you've given. You seem to lose it the moment you hit that dirty air again. So it's really interesting to see how the physics have changed in amongst this, and interesting to see how it all goes.
Absolutely. I'm just trying to have a look at Alex Gillen's stream, see what the heart rate monitor is looking like, because I imagine with those tussles with Team McMulloch, it could have been going up to about 300 beats per minute as he was raging in that battle between himself and Ben, and GB getting involved as well. He's managed to come out unscathed. I think his engine is probably quite hot, not quite as hot as he is in between the ears though.
Yeah, I have no idea what that radio message tried to say. I heard it was Alonso at some point, probably something moaning about having to leave the space. I heard the radio notification. I was expecting something to appear on our screens there, but it's Dan Gilligan giving us the Gilla giggles once again as we make our way through lap 16 on towards 17. GB being chased by an ever-approaching prancing bull, and this is incredible racing between the two of them. The camera angle it gives on towards that rear wing. You see Karim on the right-hand side. As soon as he's in the free air, doesn't quite have it at the moment, now gets it in the second stage of overtaking. Beautiful stuff. Side by side in towards the first corner. Is GB going to let this go? Yes, he does. On this occasion, realises it's the smarter thing to do and lets the Red Bull go, and will follow in tow now.
And Infratic, we know that this is his game. Had a look at the inside of Formula Car into turn number 1, almost having a little bit of a rub with the barrier on the exit of turn number 2, and loses an opportunity to try and get that 4th place away from Kai. Down into turn 3. There's now Razin from Kareem from GB Fabio with 2 podiums now, doubling his tally after finishing 3rd in round number 1 at Spain. An opportunity to make it 3 podiums, 2 of the season, 2 in the last 4 races on his 103rd start, I believe that will be, and picked up his 16th DNF a week ago as well.
Certainly will be. It's an interesting one, of course. I think, from recollection, he's the highest point-scoring driver yet to score a race win here. Gillen further back having a slight look in Team McMulloch's mirrors, just reminding the Mercedes that the McLaren is still there. Of course, once a team united, now stand separated in amongst the Formula 1 grid, and it is interesting to see how both these drivers are trying to battle one another. Gillen maybe feels that mind games could be the answer to getting past the Australian at the moment.
It's definitely bubbling and simmering, isn't it? Round 2 between Team McMulloch and Alex Gillen. You could say that Ben was victor in round number 1 because he's still ahead of Alex Gillen, though Alex Gillen will probably have something to say about that with the slight moving under braking we saw from the former 2-time champion. And Ben, I think, will be delighted if he can try and put his former teammate Infratic in between himself and the Papaya McLaren, the championship leader. But you almost feel like you're just sort of waiting for Alex Gillen to be the one to blow the top off and try and get past Ben, and then we'll see some more defensive driving from the 2-time champion. Fabio, second time lucky, he's going to get past Formula Kai with the helping hand of DRS, and look out behind them, 0.2 of a second between Alex and Ben, and it's Ben that's going to have a look up the inside. He was very, very far back. Yellow flag, and Alex Gillen's off the circuit, and Team McMulloch's off as well.
Ben's off, Alex is off, VSC is on though, as we have a full course yellow here in Baku. Wow, this is spicing up Ben, I think, well and truly. The escape road. Fortunately, that car is still running. I think there may be a few words exchanged after that earlier bit of contact. Complete front wing missing for the Australian, and surely we're going to get a full replay of what happened there. I can't quite hear what my producer's trying to say in my ear, but we're going to get a clip of that later on to run through completely. But it is interesting to see how that must have unfolded, and this now separates the 2 giants of the sea.
Well, we saw Ben move to the inside. That we did see as he tried to maybe send it up the inside of Formula Car. Alex Gillen, though, has got damaged. So what that potentially says to me is Ben miscalculated it ever so slightly, clattered the inside wall at turn number 1, almost took Kai with him, and with Gillen on the outside, there was only about 0.2 of a second separating them as we get green flag running once again. Ben was catapulted, pinballed off the circuit into the runoff area, and Alex Gillen was just smashed into by the out-of-control Mercedes as he was catapulted off the track.
Team radio, I'm sure, there from one of the drivers sat in the cockpit as we are experimenting with some new radios courtesy of Dan Gilligan. I think Alex Gillen has front wing damage as well, front left end plate missing on that McLaren. Yeah, as we pan past, that is indeed the case. So both cars getting damage and surely ruining their own race, and I'm sure we'll have a full rundown with our man from the ear on the ground in just a few moments' time. But at the moment, it doesn't seem to have slowed Gillen, who's still on the charge for Gwatz in P6.
And it's going to be very speedy in a straight line, as is the Green Machine, the Aston Martin of GB, taking second place back off the hands of Kareem 17. They managed to break away from Infratic, who sits in fourth, 1.2 seconds the gap back to the Scarlet Red Ferrari car. Alex Gillen very close to the back of Gwatz, who in turn has a second and a half to Formula Kai in front of him with Tom 97, who we haven't spoken about too much in the last 5 or 6 laps or so. After that little bit of a coming together between himself and Alex Gillen, as Alex Gillen was balked. Gwatz making a mistake through turn number 2. Gillen's going to say thank you very much as the red carpet is rolled out, and Tom 97 also pushing that Red Bull down into what is now 8th position.
Certainly is indeed. Tom 97 gets past as well, as you mentioned slightly earlier on. Razin Chai still has an almighty lead up at the front of this race after 19 laps of racing. Karim 7T holds second place, with GB just holding on to the podium positions at the moment. We progress through this field. Purple first sector for Karim 7T, so has found a little bit of pace on these harder tyres at the midpoint of this Grand Prix. I think at this moment in time, we will see Alex Gillen potentially begging for a safety car. It's interesting here that Timo Marduk, I don't think, has boxed to repair his front wing.
No, I was just about to say that. He's still going with no front wing on the car. He's 3 seconds off the back of Hayden Gullis. That's not exactly an ideal position to be in. I have no idea why he hasn't come into the pits, because he's not going to get lapped. There's no safety car, of course. So Ben may be just a little bit hot-headed. I'm looking at his chat and I can see quite a lot of bottle emojis being thrown up, which is not particularly good news at all. He's not that slow, to be fair, with no front wing on his car, considering you'd expect him to be a lot slower than he actually is. Surely he's going to come in at the end of this lap, though. And I mean, his only opportunity is to chuck on a set of hard tyres and go to the end of the race. But it says in his stream title he needs a big result today, and unless he gets a safety car, he's not going to be getting that.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's going to look. He's only about 2.5 seconds slower a lap. But of course, it's a make or break decision now. Do you go for the pits and potentially see a safety car come in the next couple of laps? For the time being, we're going to throw it over to the man that shares his name with a bird that fish are very scared of. It's not a heron, it's Alex Heron. What have you got for us?
Well, I've got exactly what was the cause of Tim Marduk's troubles here this afternoon, and actually Gillen's got nothing to do with it in this time. So Ben goes very late to the inside, clatters the wall on the inside. Gillen barely misses him. I think it's a little bit of a tap on his front wing, and the little shake of a head there from Gillen. I don't think he could believe what Ben had considered doing. I mean, if we just watch it again from this perspective, there is no way Ben's making that move from that corner. He's gone in way too late, and you can see just clouts the front wing and then just taps him there. Gillen very lucky to still be in this Grand Prix. If we have a look quick at the other incidents here, that's not the incident, that's in Fratic's stream. This was one of the first incidents between Gillen and Ben. So Ben really pulls over to the right-hand side there. Gillen getting more and more frustrated with him and gets blocked. And you can see the arm goes up in the air, folks. That's when you know it's serious stuff there. As Gillen then tries to go down the inside, make it 3 wide, which is not the best thing in the world. I think that riles Ben up a little bit more. Yeah, these two just getting a little bit too touchy-feely this afternoon between each other. And actually, we've got a little bit more of a funnier clip at the start of the restart. If you remember, Formula Kai was going for some Tokyo drifting into the first corner, and he certainly did that. You can see he's completely sideways into the first corner, and you see by his face he has just had no reaction to it. He's like, yeah, that's just a normal, a normal Saturday afternoon for him. And our final clip is what happened to Mr. Hayden Gullis as he went into the heavy braking zone, locked his rear end, spun it round, and unfortunately, yeah, that was his safest driver award completely wiped out there. But yeah, that's all the clips I've got for you at the moment. But yeah, Gillen and Ben, yeah, there's very interesting here this afternoon.
Oh, I think actually you mentioned it. Hayden Gullis could still be on for his cleanest driver award. Obviously, there was no warnings in terms of track limits and/or contact warnings. I don't believe a simple spin actually causes any negative downsides to being awarded that cleanest driver. According to our roster and our information sheet, he's got 1 warning to his name, though, and there's a few drivers still on 0. So it is unlikely that he's going to get it, but not impossible over the next 30 or so laps of racing. We see Tom in towards the pit lane here, fresh set of the mediums going on, and will potentially have even another stop, because there's not a very big chance that he's taking these 30 laps.
Ben put on the soft tyres as well, obviously down in 19th and last place, so obviously he is not going to be trying to go to the end of the race, and he is going to be doing the safety car dance, I think we like to call it, as the cloud cover starts to come across. He's going to be hoping for a little bit of chaos in the second half of this Azerbaijan Grand Prix, because it's not been great from him, has it? Some of those moves were questionable, but I think, you know, it always takes 2 to tango. Alex Gillen with some retaliatory moves, I think it's fair to say, but then that final one that ruined Alex Gillen's race and ruined Ben's race, I think the only blame you can put on the door is of Tiamat Marduk's.
Absolutely. It was one of those where it's 2 pence for one person, 2 pence for the other, and it just was a coagulation of potentially tempers flying, especially both drivers being rather hot-headed this afternoon, as I think a few may have alluded to. But Razin Chai is having a good race, albeit that Friek is being chased down by Karim 7T, who has made about 1.3 seconds inroad into the Alpine that stands in front. You can get a visualization there of how far the two are separated on the circuit, and it's not as much as it once was.
Yeah, and you can tell how much pace Karim has got by the fact that he's dropped GB. They were battling, they were sharing DRS range, but as that gap has come down between himself and the Alpine to 3.6, 3.7 seconds, it's gone up to 2.6 seconds to GB, who now has the Haas of Formula Kai and the Ferrari of Infratic to deal with. Scott Taylor is into the pit with another little bit of front wind damage. I believe that's his 4th stop, potentially. No, 3rd stop. He's putting on hard tyres, I imagine the tyres that he had after his 1st stop in this Grand Prix.
Absolutely. It's only lap 22 into 51 laps. We're not even halfway through this race yet, folks, as Scott Taylor peels out of the pit lane just behind one Tiamat Marduk as well. And it is a fresh set of the hards for Mr. Taylor. They will probably take him till the end. But the interesting call here, and what I want to talk about, Tom, is Ben Daly opting for the soft tyres. Surely that's a little bit of a hope and a prayer that he's going to see a safety car and go onto a set of tyres until the end.
100%. There can be no other reason you put the soft tyres on other to try and lay down a marker and pick up the fastest lap, which he's been unsuccessful in doing so. Missed out by 0.3 of a second to Karim 17, who currently has the fastest lap of 1:43.2. Nice little scrap still emerging as Gwatz is struggling a little bit for pace, currently holding 10th position, 2.5 seconds off the back of Vince, and Meraki has not just Ricciardo 3, not just Nogueira, but Adam Sanderson to deal with. And it has to be said that Gwatz and Adam Sanderson have had a few on-track tussles and tete-a-tetes over the Creator Series years.
They certainly have. Wing damage are being told by for one of the drivers, and that is Gwatz with the wing damage. Front right missing on that Red Bull. The sponsors won't be happy that their logos have somewhat disappeared from that Formula 1 car, but it also means that he's going to dive into the pit to the very last moment if possible, and that allows Nogueira and Adam Sanderson to fly past alongside Ricciardo 3, and that will be a front wing required for the Red Bull racing outfit. I don't know if his wheels handling okay, but medium tyres going on. Again, are they going to do 27, 28 laps?
Going to have to look after them, especially those rear tyres, with it being probably the biggest rear limited circuit on the calendar. Meraki up into 8th place, getting ahead of that guy Vince. Nogueira, after that little mistake we saw earlier on, well, big mistake in fact earlier on, going down the escape road at turn number 3, hasn't really been able to recover too much, still bogged down in the midfield position number 11. And out in front, Karim is now closer to Razin than he is to GB.
He certainly is. He's made those inroads in towards the Alpine that stands in front of him. I think Razin could be on a bit of a troubled tale here. He's got to decide whether he wants to try and continue to pull away, or maybe invite Karim in and try and work together to prevent them both from being caught by GB68. And again, it's a tough challenge for them to try and work together for, because are you going to try and work with someone that you are essentially a rival of, or are you going to try and go alone and hope that they don't catch up and then get you anyway?
He almost wants to give him a whole face full of dirty air and see how Razin responds to it. Alex Gillen doing the Oscar Piastri as we come on to, well, I was going to say the final straight. There's quite a few corners that they still have to negotiate. Gillen's pace is actually still fairly decent, even though he's missing that left-hand end plate, being dragged along nicely by Tom 97, whose pace is maybe not quite what we thought it would have been. Tom 97, usually the fastest driver in the Creator Series, particularly on F1 23 and 24, but just struggling ever so slightly at this stage to cling onto the coattails of Infratic and Formula Kai, who are about 2.5 seconds up the road.
They certainly are. It's looking close. Nogueira's got past Riccio 3, managed to dispatch that Williams at the moment, but I think the medium runners will be looking to pit probably in the next few laps. We saw them only taking about 7 or 9 or 10 laps before that safety car. So the question would have been, how many could they possibly have done should that safety car not have come out? It's going to be a tough and technical one to answer. Ricky really takes that position, not allowing Nogueira any time to try and put to use that free air that stands in front of him.
And the driver that is in front of this group, 2 drivers in front in fact, Meraki, has made the progress that we thought he might have done earlier on. Now up into 8th place after starting down in 16th after that disconnection right at the end of qualifying. Still very much in the game for a decent haul of points in his first Creator Series campaign, driving for the Scarlet Ferrari car. The 2 RBs are following each other's footsteps as well. This is Lolinoba holding 13th ahead of Hayden Gullis, who is still on, I think, for the cleanest driver award. He does have 1 warning, though, which may put paid to his chances of that. The clouds, I've just seen in the chat from Charles, I absolutely agree. The clouds are definitely coming over. It's looking a little bit more aggressive in the skies, but as yet we're not hearing any rain reports.
No, even from our men on the ground, we've got no reports that rain is anywhere near this circuit at the moment, and not expecting any drops to try and influence this race, similar to what we saw in Canada last week, where rain came with about 7 or 8 laps to go. It was a beautiful bit of bonus for that tyre rainbow wildcard that we saw. But for the rest of the race, I think few drivers weren't necessarily as prepared as others and took the wets and the inter tyres slightly earlier on, and it's a bit of a gamble now. Do they trust their engineers and try and go and hope for no rain, or do they maybe alternate their strategy in preparation for something that could never happen?
I think it's always a little bit far-fetched is probably the wrong word, a little bit risky to look that far into the future. If you're thinking about lap 48 now and the potential for rain, I think you're just going to leave yourself a little bit vulnerable and put yourself on a sub-optimal strategy for if the rain doesn't come, if they aren't being told rain's coming, then I feel like that would be an unwise decision to make. Riccio 3 gets back past Nogueira. These guys are working together to try and catch the duo of Meraki and Dak Gavins in front. That gap is hovering in the high to low 3 to 4 seconds, 3.9 seconds at it stands at the moment. Kareem 17 still taking chunks of time out of Razinchai. They're lapping fairly similarly, but Kareem just has a 10th, maybe 2 in hand over Razin at the moment, and that is why that gap is slowly but surely starting to come down. As Gwat's battling away with Scotty Designs, the Red Bull trying to take 17th or 16th, off the hands of our mean recap king.
Certainly is, and looking good whilst he does it, of course. The Haas car is a rather nice livery, especially the one they ran, I believe, in Canada in real life the last few weeks. And I do have to say, I do like the throwback liveries, especially from teams and constructors that have been in the sport over many seasons. Gwat's hasn't had the best race so far. We're hoping that that's, well, in the nicest possible way, down to pure skill issue and not technical issues, because at least then one of them can be fixed rather easily than the other. But in amongst the field, Infratic is right on the rear of Formula Kai, only a 10th off the back, and now makes the move as they head down past the pit buildings.
Looking very strong, as he was in Spain, Infratic. Fabio doing a very good job. He's on those medium tyres as well, done 16 laps on them, let's not forget. And you would imagine that the hards probably have a bit of a pace advantage at this stage of the stint. So to be clinging on to the back of Formula Kai and now overtaking him, that just is a real testament to the pace that Fabio's got. He's going to have a little bit of work to do here to try and hold off the re-assault from the Haas, and he's going to duck back underneath the rear wing of his Ferrari engine counterpart, and Kai reclaims that 4th spot. Maybe working together, just sharing the DRS to try and catch up to GB, who is in no man's land, like we said a few laps ago. 5 seconds now to the duo in front. GB just doesn't seem to have the pace on the hard tyres as he did on the softs earlier on. Maybe he's got a little bit of damage because he was obviously a big part of the tussles that were going on in the grudge match between Alex Gillen and Tim at Marlock. But no real gains from Formula Kai and Infratic either behind. In fact, Tom 97 and Alex Gillen have just moved into the 1 second window of the Ferrari.
Absolutely. Whilst we're about halfway through this race at the moment, we're going to throw things over from mid-race recap over to a very special guest. Now, some say he could put you to sleep with his soothing voice in just 3 laps. Others say he plays squash with Zach Brown rather regularly. All we know is he's called Daniel Gilligan.
Thanks very much, TK, and thank you very much to Tom Wilkinson as well. Ready from Infratic here? My tyres are gone compared to the hards, he says. Dear, oh dear, that is not what he will have been expecting at all. Not what he'll been hoping for either. But yes, to give you a recap, a rundown of this race over the next couple of laps, whilst we give our commentators a well-deserved breather. It, of course, started with Razinchai at the front and has not changed one jot since the beginning of this Grand Prix. He scampered away into the distance at the beginning, away from GB68, who managed to get to the run off the line and through the first sequence of corners on Alex Gillen. Gillen then proceeding to fall further and further backwards up against tyres that were softs, and then his own being the hards, of course. Not a good situation for trying to constantly have to mount a defence to those drivers behind as well. And of course, we've then got everything else that's happened in between since. Moments of frustration boiling over for these drivers. Moments where we've then had them going side by side in areas they really shouldn't be going side by side in. As right now on our screens at the moment is Alex Gillen recovering from those earlier skirmishes and squabbles, particularly with Benjamin Daly. But Ben Daly, you'll notice, is a bit further down the way. 18th position, 2.1 seconds off of the next car up the road. That is Scotty Designs, by the way. And then, of course, you've got Scott Taylor a bit further behind Ben. But Ben, of course, in close combat with Alex Gillen before what could only really be described as being far, far, far too adventurous, trying to emulate perhaps his compatriot, his hero, Daniel Ricciardo, but maybe emulating the latter years of Ricciardo's career rather than the earlier ones. Going for the dive bomb and it not quite working as the back end steps out on the Mercedes just there as he tries to drive through the next sequence of corners, finishing off the first sector and then moving into the second. As it is, alongside me here, just having a little bit of a skirmish of, not a skirmish, a little skim, read and watch through all of the various channels that are live right now. Alex Heron, I'm going to just make the idea to bring you in here, and then you can either say yes or no in our text chat, and I'll tactically keep talking to give you time to say yes or no, in case you are not ready. Yes, he is ready. Fantastic. So, Alex, to bring you in then, it's of course been an interesting race so far. We've got basically until the end of the current lap, until we need to hand back over to the commentators. Any key thoughts and takeaways from you so far?
The only real key thought is that there has been a lot of collisions between obviously Gillen and Ben. We normally see it occasionally, but they have been at each other's throats this afternoon. I'm not sure exactly what caused it, what the flashpoint was. Maybe it was that middle sector that we saw, but yeah, it was very strange. But right now, you know what? The only comment I have to say is it's in Fratic's game.
I mean, it certainly is. He's doing very well right now. 5th position and within DRS range of the next car up there. There's a skirmish here for P10 right now between Ricky 03 and Nogueira. But as the pair of them go side by side here, it looks as though Nogueira is going to have this one up the inside in the next turn. Of course, then a very short run to the next corner. If Ricky can pull alongside here, it's not necessarily going to result in an overtake at that next turn because it's very much a one-line corner here. And yes, Nogueira is through, but Infratic falling back now from Formula Kai in front of them. So 5th position for Infratic, whose game this is, and he has to now fight with Tom 97 behind him, 0.3 of a second away. There's some interesting chat going in our behind the scenes room at the moment here. I'm not going to read it out. I think that's something which should stay back here, and frankly my eyes are burning as a result of reading it. I'm going to hand back over to a strange but lovable duo in the two Toms, Tom Knight and Tom Wilkinson.
Well, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Alex, as well. Pleasure, as always, to hear from the both of you about your thoughts and feelings as to how the race has gone so far, and, of course, to give a little bit of a recap of what happened if you are just tuning in. First of all, where have you been? Second of all, welcome in to round 4 here at Baku in Azerbaijan. A fantastic race, which has seen two giants of the F1 Creator Series seen knocking heads as they headed in towards the first corner. Tim and Martin coming out considerably worse off than Alex Gillen did indeed, but both of them losing bits of carbon fibre from their front wing. Battles aplenty here in Baku as Razinchai leads from Karim 7T, who is continuing to chase him down for this race win.
Really hunting him down. Gained 0.8 on the last lap to the reigning champion. Razinchai very, very shortly is going to have his mirrors filled with the Red Bull racing car for the first time this afternoon/evening, depending on where you are watching us. And GB, like we said, just doesn't have the pace. He was a second a lap slower than Karim on the previous turn. His hard tyres clearly struggling. Infratic's hard tyres obviously going off the cliff slightly as well. He's done 19 laps on those yellow striped mediums. I might have said hard tyres. I meant the medium tyres. He's been passed by Tom 97. I think Alex Gillen's going to be next on the list to push him down a further spot, but he is also on the medium tyres with that front wing damage.
He certainly is indeed. 19 laps for the majority of the leading 12 drivers. The only exception to that rule, of course, was Tom 97, who rather fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which way you take it, pitted just 3 laps prior to the safety car being called out for Nick Fly's slight skirmish in towards the barrier. Ricky 03 Noguera still having a good old scrap down for 10th and 11th. Of course, both of those positions, I believe, still scoring points no matter what, all the way down to 15th, if memory serves me correctly, as we make our way through onto lap 30 of 51. 21 laps to go here in this Grand Prix. Sorry, 22 laps. We've got a yellow flag. Formula Kai, I think, might have gone off at the top of the castle.
Yeah, and that's not going to be the first time today. No, I think it's actually Scotty Designs. I was going to say, not the first time today that Formula Kai has made a little bit of a boob out there, doing fairly well. He was in 4th. He's just been overtaken by Tom 97, who is just starting to find his feet. He may be 11 seconds off the lead, but just starting to track nicely. And if he can try and do something strategy-wise, he can get himself right back into contention. Starting over to the middle of the circuit goes Lolinober, and he's going to push Adam Sampson down. Well, I was going to say he's going to push Adam Sampson down into position number 14, but missing his braking point by a few yards, and that sends him wide into turn number 1. He's going to have to try again to get past the Mercedes.
I don't know if that counts as overtake of the week for Adam Sanderson, but what a switchback we've just seen from the Mercedes. Calculated it perfectly, waited for Lolinober to go deep in towards the first corner, and just absolutely sends it down the inside. Masterful work from Adam Sanderson, who also disguises and plays dress-up from time to time as the one and the only Devon Butler.
Team owner, of course. Unless you don't want it spoiled, then you've no idea what's going on. In Breaking Point,
so
you haven't. Well,
I haven't played Breaking Point yet.
I'll refrain from saying any more about Breaking Point and Devon Butler. Kareem 17, though, is very much menacingly in the rearview mirrors of Raz and Chai for the first time in about 20 laps. I think we are going to see the lead change hands. Gets a bit of a wobble, though.
Absolutely. I think this is where the tyres are probably going to start reaching their wits' end. 20 laps is certainly around where we'd like to see that happen. Probably around 2025, if memory serves me correctly. There's no real data yet. They haven't had enough opportunity for drivers to really test and go into detail, as we do see the lead change hands for the first time. Karim 7T, who's up 17 positions in 31 laps, takes the race lead on lap 31 of 51.
And this is a champion's drive, isn't it? We haven't necessarily seen it too much from Kareem. It was really interesting listening to his interview last week where he said he wasn't feeling as comfortable on 25 as he was on 24, where he felt he had an absolute mastery of the handling model and the physics model on this game. He has had to adapt, and this is really the first time that we've seen the reigning champion Kareem coming through. He had a good race in Silverstone, finishing second a couple of weeks ago, but this is prime Kareem, and now from last on the grid, or 18th on the grid, leading for the first time. And Raz has got his hands full if he's going to try and cling on to the coattails of that Alpine, unless, of course, we see a safety car, because this time Formula Kai has made a boob. He's got into the barrier, lost a little bit of his front wing. Benjamin Daly is going to be absolutely delighted, apart from the fact that he's just missed the pit lane. The safety car making a visit for the second time.
Certainly are indeed. They will be able to get round a course before Bert Mylander makes his way out and parks that beautiful Aston Martin at the side of the racetrack. And I think, if you remember back to real life a couple of seasons ago, we had some bit of carnage and chaos as we exited out of turn 2 down that DRS straight. It was Carlos Sainz that ended up in the barrier, roughly, where Bert Mylander is braking. It's interesting to see what everybody does now. Most of the drivers on hards might be able to go to the end on a set of the mediums, but it is going to really change up the field if, of course, they used a considerable amount of the tyres in that qualifying session. We wait, of course, to see what everybody does. GB, I think it's a little bit warm in GB's room.
Yeah, this is going to be new territory for him, isn't it? Being that sweaty with that newer hairline.
That's probably what's caused half of it, actually. He's not used to the heat not being able to radiate off the top of the head. It's like wearing a baseball cap or probably a beanie from time to time. So GB will have to learn the ways of the ice pack or something similar to try and cool down that mop of hair that now grows on his head.
Indeed, and he's been given a second opportunity to try and get himself back into this race. He was not at the races in that second stint, it's fair to say, was not at the speed of Kareem or Razin Chai, was nearly 10 seconds off the back of them when the safety car was called out. Kareem and Razin, unsurprisingly, making their way down pit road. Will it be the medium tyres to try and go to the end of the Grand Prix? It's definitely the yellow stroke mediums for the reigning champion. I wouldn't be surprised if Razin goes for the same strategy. Alex Gillen is in an interesting spot. Whether he chose the balanced or the harder tyre compound strategy before the game came in, the tyre allocation, we will see, because he's used 9 lap cold hard tyres and then 22 laps on the mediums. He is going to mediums again, so it was 2 sets of mediums rather than 2 sets of hards. GB's put the hards on.
Yeah, that's an interesting call from GB. I think maybe he's banking that some people will not make it to the end here on a set of the mediums. Of course, the mandatory, or the not mandatory, should I say, the intentional safety cars ban from lap 36, so in 4 laps' time. Which, if you can do some maths and guess that safety cars stay out roughly for about 4 laps, they will be able to no longer cause an intentional safety car when this one peels in. But interesting to note here that Tom has decided to stay out and not head into the pit lane. Is that an attempt where he wasn't wanting to double stack on his teammate, or does he feel like we could see another safety car slightly later on?
Well, Gwatz has done the same in the Red Bull, 9-lap-old medium tyres for him. So I think they're just trying to get themselves back into contention with some better track position. Tom would have seen in Spain that his charge for a potential win was halted. Ben, we are seeing with his pit limiter on and the pit icon on the timing tower, but he is making his way around turns 1 and 2. So I'm going to be very interested to see what his viewpoint is on his stream. We'll come back to that, but we've got Deadcall also in the chat asking, was the safety car called by Nick Flies? The first one was, this one was caused by a bit of a mistake for Formula Kai. I think he had a bit of a rear lockup ending up in the barrier. Ben still making his way down the straight with his pit limiter on. I'm now going to open his stream and see if he's seeing what we're seeing, so bear with me.
Can we just sit and watch pit limiter Ben there for a moment? I want to see what happens.
He's stuck in the pits.
Oh.
He's just, yes, he's stuck in the pits, so oh dear, his crew aren't coming out to help him. So this might be slightly worrying for Tim Marduk if he can't get back into this. You'd imagine he's probably going to have to leave the session to let his AI jump in.
There we go, he's jumped into the pits now.
I think he has. Well, yes, he's just
left.
disconnected, he's restarted. So things going from bad to worse for the former 2-time champion.
His car is now leaving the pit lane, so I wonder if that's potentially fixed any issues. He's got a fresh set of hard tyres on, so at least his crew came out to his aid this time around. But I think there'll be a few stern words in the debrief after this race if that indeed was the case. They simply did not hear the F1 car coming.
His game, I think his game wasn't loading up, but now he has. And I wouldn't be surprised also when he does get back in, if he can, of course, take control, that he'll probably come back into the pits for a set of brand new medium tyres. So the safety car might be staying out for a little bit longer.
That will be the case, and Ben Wylander will be able to take us through some laps, and Alex Heron will be able to take us through some clips whilst he's at it. Alex, over to you.
Well, I've actually only got a couple of clips for you here in this safety car period, and one of them is what caused this safety car. Formula Kai been involved in not one, but 2 incidents here in 2 different racetracks here this afternoon. Goes into the first corner, and kind of, again, a rookie mistake. Formula Kai has been making a few of them today, but luckily didn't end his Grand Prix, just ended his front wing. And you can see by his face, he was a bit surprised by that. The only other clip I have is actually from a previous stint, and I wanted you to see what it looked like on board Ben's car when he went for that move into the first corner. So this is kind of what ruined his race. As you can see, he's miles back. He's never making that move, and he's caused absolute carnage, and all he can do is give himself a little bit of a smile. He's put his hand up. He knows he's done it wrong. But yeah, that is not gone well for Ben. And yeah, that is the end of his that's the end of his session pretty much. But he's now in the safety car. He can try and catch up and see where he can go. But yeah, let's see what happens under this next safety car.
Absolutely. Fantastic, Alex. Thank you so much for that behind the scenes. And I've been informed by the Twitch chat that Ben's game is quote-unquote done for. I know Tom Wilkinson was watching his stream. I don't know if he's still able to do so. Have you got any update for us? What's happening with Ben?
Well, apart from the fact that I do have some ads going on at the moment, I can see in the top right corner of my screen that he is rejoining. Obviously, he's in the pits now. I'm not sure what that's for. That's definitely not him that's come into the pit lane, I should stress. And I think he is back in the game. Just need to make sure. As they put on 10-lap-old medium tyres. Oh dear, he's going to have to come back into the pits for a 5th time, potentially. Can he take control? I'm just going to hold on to this one as we look. As he hasn't opened up the menu. On his screen, his car's got no nose cone on, which is absolutely ideal. Still waiting. Can he take control? Well, he's pressing the button to take control. This is live Team Marduk updates for you. He has pressed the button to take control. He sat in the cockpit. He has got the red lights. Team Marduk is back in the game, everybody.
Wow, this could be interesting. And obviously, we can see the game put 10-lap-old mediums back on his car, and I think he'll have been hoping for potentially a fresh set of mediums, which I do believe he does have available potentially, but maybe that's just an issue on our end, because according to Team Telemetry, they are brand new medium. Maybe they're not made brand new mediums. Maybe he went for 2 sets of hards. Maybe he didn't choose the double medium set. All of those questions, of course, can be answered if we speak to Ben slightly later on. I don't think he'll be the most willing to have a chat with our broadcast team right about now. But in a few laps' time, I'm sure we will see that. We've got a team ready for Ben coming through. I think that sums it up perfectly. So, once again, we've got Gilligan giving us the giggles here in the broadcast booth, and we see Hayden in towards the pits. What's he going on to? It's a fresh set of the fairly fresh set of the medium tyres, 1 lap old for Hayden Gullis, which is interesting choices for himself. So we've got all 3 tyre compounds on cars. Scotty Designs, who went for the soft tyres. A bold move or a mistake, Tom?
Bold, I would say. Scotty Designs. We know that he's a maverick, of course, chucking on those soft tyres. But yeah, interesting one. I'm not really sure. Ben is staying out. So answers on a postcard, everybody. I think he's maybe worried that he might get caught. Safety cars in this lap. Well, I think Tim Mollick's race is probably run.
I mean, in theory, if someone wanted to bite the bullet for him, they've got 1 or 2 more laps to cause an intentional safety car. So it's an interesting one. There we go. The graphic telling us after the end of lap 36, just for clarification. We had a few moments of that last week where people thought it was the start of that lap, but it is indeed the end of lap 36. So we have got about 2 laps if someone wants to try and maybe take one for the team for Mr. Ben Daly, but I don't think anybody will want to ruin their own race at the moment. It will be reled or restarted by Karim 17th, Razin Chai and Tom 97 closely in tow with the first of the hard tyre runners, GB, sat in 4th place at the moment. And don't forget, you can save some money on some good setups from simracingsetup.com and use code F1CS for 5% off as well. We're ready for the restart, heading on to lap 35 of 51. And they are going incredibly slowly, crawling down that long start-finish straight. Karim puts his foot to the floor, like it will go green. And we are about to go racing once again here in Baku. Razin Chai on the charge. GB tries to get past Tom 97 as well. I think, has he made the move early there?
I think Tom, yes, he has. Tom 97 was ahead of him, so GB with an excellent restart. Tom 97 maybe caught napping ever so slightly. Positions changing hands all over the place. Tom Beener on his old medium tyres, let's not forget, didn't pit under the safety car. Through goes Alex Gillen. Through potentially goes Formula Kai, very, very close to making contact at the apex of turn number 2. But it's the Alpine losing out still side by side. Maraki getting involved as well now in the Scarlet Ferrari car. He thinks he can pick up a couple of places. Through he goes, getting past the Alpine of Tom. Through he goes down the inside, trying to get ahead of the Haas of Formula Kai, but was a little bit tentative on the brakes there. Definitely had an opportunity to get that spot, but happy to sit behind for the time being as Vince launches it up the inside of Tom and almost clattered into the side of the Alpine.
This is where I think the patience game isn't going to show much patience anymore. Everybody is now out to try and recoup the earlier damage that they had done to their positions here in Baku. They'll be wanting and hoping and praying to try and claw their way back up, but look at the gap already. Razin Chai teetering on the edge of breaking the DRS to GB. He's over a second at the moment. The Aston Martin that sits in 3rd currently losing out considerably, and I wonder if those hard tyres aren't necessarily playing ball. As we make our way through lap 35, they'll come into their own slightly later on when the medium tyres do start to naturally degrade, but for the time being, GB is going to be stuck in no man's land to a circuit that he got his first win at. He won't be necessarily playing the best tune this evening.
100%, and he almost needs to relinquish the position to Tom 97 if he's going to try and keep this DRS train intact. 1.2 seconds, so when the DRS gets enabled, he's definitely going to be outside of that unless he can dump a whole load of battery and try and get himself back into contention, but still hovering around 1.1 seconds. And Tom 97, same with Infrati, they're not particularly close to the back of GB, so I don't think it's so much GB's pace is poor. I think it's more that Karim and Razin are absolutely rapid.
They certainly are. Razin sets the fastest lap of the race, which quickly replaced Karim's fastest lap of the race, I believe. A 42.4 to a 42.2 by Razin Chai, almost immediately. Noiguera and Lonnie Nova having a good scrap further back, as is Taylor and Gullis. It's both V-Cubs and both Kick Salvers having a good old scrap in amongst themselves. I wonder if there's a bit of a love-lost rivalry between those two constructors. Noiguera goes defensive. Lonnie Nova has to switch to the outside. Fantastic. Racing by the both of them further forward. Vince and Tom trying to get caught up. Too wide. Oh, we've got cars in the barrier. Vince and Tom stuck amongst one another, causing a car park moment in Baku once again. It wasn't Gullis this time. It was Vince and Tom who've had their moment in the sun.
And Gwatz was the innocent bystander in that as well. He's come a cropper, and a difficult race for Gwatz, not too much out of his own doing. Is going to see him drop down to P16. I think he has got some front wing damage as well. Tim Malik will be absolutely cursing that, because that was a prime opportunity to get a safety car and get himself back into the race as Gwatz lets the Aston Martin of Vince go through. But that is 3 drivers whose races, along with Tim Malik, have been thrown in the nearest bin.
Yeah, damage for the Red Bull, of course, front wing after they ploughed into the back of that Aston Martin that was stationary, probably more a cropper than he would have hoped for. Tom also having some front wing damage, but the other Red Bull and the other Alpine looking rather promising. First and second still on the track respectively, have well and truly broken that toe. Further back to GB68 and the other following cars. So it is a 2-horse race for the win of this Grand Prix. 15 laps to go here in Baku. And as it stands, unless we see any major carnage or unintentional safety cars, now we reach the end of lap 36, we are going to have a 2-horse race. Top 97 with the slipstream in the DRS gets past GB68. The medium tyres really coming to pay dividends for the Williams outfit. There is Krim and Razin, both on 5-lap-old mediums after boxing under that safety car, who have the advantage here in Azerbaijan.
And you wonder if GB is just regretting selecting that harder allocation. The lead is going to change hands, though. That looked very easy for Razin Chai with the DRS flap open. And he takes the lead away from the reigning champion. Season 5 champion passes the Season 9 champion. It is now Alpine leading the way once more as Kareem falls back down into second place. He can become very accustomed to the geometry of the rear end of that Alpine car once more. And Tom 97 has dropped GB. Now, those hard tyres, as we saw at the start of the race, for Alex Gillen as he leaked places in the opening salvos. He's lost 1.4 seconds. Tom 97, if he can keep this pace up, will very much be in the fight for the win.
He certainly will do indeed. Out of the pit lane comes Lolly Noba, I think, after the earlier incident, and potentially a new set of tyres goes on to a set of the mediums to see him out towards this race. The top of the castle section here as we watch Tom 97 taking all of the curb available to him on the inside, just trying to push forward, and is starting to recover a lot of time. This is how quick the mediums are compared to the hards of GB68. It's 2 seconds, in fact, to the advantage of the Williams, although you've got to be very careful of that corner as you head through turn 15. If you clip on towards the corner, you quite often can go flying in towards the barrier.
And are we starting to see Tom 97 come into his own? Fastest first sector, a personal best in the middle sector as well. Can he find the extra half a second in the next lap and a half or so to get himself into this battle, this exclusive battle with Razin Chai and Kareem 17 that has been going on for the last 15, 20, 25 laps for the race leaders? Kareem takes it back with the helping hand of his DRS on the run down into turn number 1. Tom 97 sets the fastest lap of the race. This could be a 3-horse race, everybody, unless Alex Gillen can try and find some speed. He's getting past Infratic. He's lunging it up the inside, dangling the nose of that McLaren down the inside of GB into turn number 1. Wasn't particularly successful, and now has to try and fend off Fabio once more.
Top 97 was 0.8 of a second quicker than both Razin Chai and Karim 17 last lap. He's incredibly pacey on the brand new tyres when he's in fresh air as well. And Infratic was watching this fight with Alex Gillen and GB. GB's going to the inside. Gillen tries to go around the outside. They're still side by side in towards the next set of corners. Who's going to give up first? Who's going to back out in hopes of saving their race? They're still side by side as we head in towards 5 and 6. It's incredibly close between the two of them. Is anything going to separate them? The inside line comes to Gillen. Infratic comes to join the party, as does Kai and Maraki as well. They're all trying to get involved. Turn 7 in towards that real corner that you can take as much as you possibly can. GB with the outside line, that pays dividends and will have control into Castle.
That, everybody, is how you race at Baku. That was absolutely outstanding from both drivers involved. Respectful. They have lost 5 seconds as the yellow flag's out. Lolanoba's off the circuit. He's down the escape road at turn number 3. Tim Rodical, we beg, and the safety car gets called out, having to perform a 57-point turn is the RB car. But Tom 97, 1.2 seconds off the back of Kareem. GB 5 seconds further back, but Alex Gillen's lost a lot in the middle sector. 8/10 now to the Aston Martin.
He certainly has. Not quite sure what happened. Maybe the mediums are already starting to degrade quicker than they would have liked. But from Fabio's perspective, that was fantastic racing. I can only imagine what it would have been like to be on board with the Ferrari. But Karim and Razin changed places once again. The DRS coming to the aid of that Red Bull racing car. Tom not being able to try and get closer to the cars in front of him at the moment. The DRS proving too powerful. I thought we were going to see a 3-wide moment there, but the camera shot was looking more over-optimistic than I was expecting. And Gillen still holds from Infratic from Kai.
Tom 97 is surely going to get into this fight, though. Still hovering around 1.5, 1.4 seconds. Got as low as 1.2 as Razin takes the lead back. These two realise the threat from the Williams of Tom 97 behind, and are going to be working together, trying to share the DRS to keep that Williams at arm's length. They don't need to worry about anybody else behind unless there is a late race safety car. 5.6 seconds the margin back to GB. I think we can now firmly say that tyre strategy, the allocation, selecting the 2 hard compounds rather than the 2 mediums, was the wrong way to go. And it hasn't really helped the chances of the likes of Alex Gillen in Fratic, Formula Kai, and Meraki behind.
It certainly hasn't at the moment. If anything, it's actually completely ruined their races. Obviously, you don't ruin races by choosing a tyre from somebody else. But of course, a narrow street circuit like Baku, where you can't afford to run or escape to the runoff areas and still progress through, like we saw in Spain, like we saw in Canada to some degree through the chicanes, where you can use the track to your advantage and maybe try and send a cheeky move down the inside, and both of you avoid trouble to the greatest degree. Those hard tyres from GB are considerably pulling this chasing pack further and further away from our lead pack of Chai, Karim and Tom 97 as well. And I think as the race continues to progress through, with just over 10 laps to go here in this Grand Prix, I think that 6.8 seconds advantage, unless we see a late safety car, could be game, set and match for our chasing group.
It could be. Here comes Meraki. Is this going to be game, set and match as he pulls over to the inside? It's the right-hand side of the circuit, and Formula Kai is going to be a sitting duck as the Ferrari opens the DRS, as does the Haas car, but just the momentum carrying Meraki up into 7th place. Started from the back, of course. P16 has slowly made his way through the field and now has a teammate to try and deal with. But look out in front, 1.1 seconds after the main DRS straights for Tom 97. He is surely going to be within 1 second by the time we get to the end of this lap. Alex Gillen was all locked up going down into the braking zone of turn number 2. This could be an opportunity to finally dispose of GB, who goes defensive, moves back over to the middle of the circuit, back over to the left-hand side. Alex Gillen wants to get his mate to go the long way round. This time he gets it done. It's picture book perfect around the outside of turn number 3. And finally, Alex Gillen, the championship leader, has been released, but he's 9 seconds off the lead.
Yellow flag in the first and third sectors. I think that could be a slow-moving Alpine, potentially by the name of Tom. Front wing damage on both, I think both end plates, actually. Oh, no, just front right end plate for the Alpine. So I wonder if they found the barrier slightly more optimistically than they would have been hoping for, as they do pick up Ben just behind them. But this battle is interesting. Gillen played the smart game, waited for GB to make that defensive move, went to the outside line, swung it around the outside, and was picture book perfect, as you said. But GB did everything he could to defend, close the gap to the utmost degree. And it was unfortunate because Gillen's pace has looked so strong here in Season X. One thing is worth mentioning and bringing up, we've got both Scuderias together, and that doesn't tend to end well together if we just look back through the history books.
No, especially when it's in Fratic and Meraki. You do have a little bit of history, I think it's fair to say, in the Creator Series. Tom 97, I'm not sure if he's got the DRS. Has he got it? Is he inside 1 second? It was 1.001. Yes, the flap is open. Tom 97, with 11 laps to go, has arrived on the scene, everybody. Kareem 17, the reigning champion, takes the lead back from the Season 5 champion, Razin Chai. But there's an extra challenger, an extra contender they'll have to deal with. Tom 97 is quite the customer.
He certainly is indeed one that's known for his pace and has been over the course of his appearances here in the Creator Series, and one driver that you don't necessarily want to try and go up against over the course of the race. Chai takes the lead away from Karim once again. We are on 11 or 10 and a half laps to go if you're being pedantic here. I think drivers will be waiting to see when that checkered flag does appear. They'll be hoping and praying for it, because I'm sure there'll be sweat both inside and outside of their virtual cockpits. Meraki does get past Infratic rather trouble-free, but how long will that last for?
Well, keep our fingers crossed that we don't see bits of scarlet carbon fibre scattered across the circuit, but for the time being, like you said, trouble-free, and they've got Formula Kai to deal with as well. And then a further 2 seconds back to Nogueira in P9. He's done a decent recovery job after that mistake. He did qualify in P4 though. If you want to try and test yourself against the best and want some pro setups, sim racing setups are the place to go, using that code F1CS for a lovely 5% discount at the checkout. And I think you should get on that. We all recommend it, don't we, Keith?
We certainly do, and some of the creators also running the setups that they provide as well. Which ones, I'll leave that up to your own demise. I have a little bit of a hint. It's probably the ones towards the top, but obviously I can neither confirm nor deny. Gullis gets past Scotty Designs, by the way, in the battle for P12, as those two are having a good old scrap further back for the last of the points-paying positions. I think this is probably the highest that Scotty Designs has been in a long while. I wonder when they'll start to get the nosebleeds.
As the lead is going to change hands once more, I don't want to alarm anybody that isn't a fan of Alex Gillen, but he's taken 1.3 seconds out of this leading trio on the previous lap. He's just about to cut the beam at 7 seconds off the lead of the Grand Prix. So that's a 42.3, faster than everybody in the leading group, 7 tenths quicker than Kareem, 8 tenths quicker than Razin Chai. Alex Gillen's 1-3 on the spin, and you almost feel like it's becoming inevitable if he keeps this pace up.
It certainly is. If he manages to recuperate 6.7 seconds over the course of, what's this, about 10 laps to go in this Grand Prix, it'll be an almighty drive and one well worthy of the championship victory. The Ferraris are working together here as we make our way through the 42nd lap. Infrati moves out of the way to allow Meraki through, and this is a smart game from the team from Italy.
No Scarlet Civil War, which I think both of them will be very happy to say. They should be one of the favourites for the Constructors' Championship for as well. Haven't got off to the best of starts. There's been a few inconsistencies for all three, for both of them. But running 6th and 7th could be banking a very decent haul of points. And the only team other than Williams with both drivers currently inside the top 10.
Certainly is. Gwat's into the pits for a fresh set of soft tyres. We were told that someone might have hit the barrier. Not quite sure who that would have been. I'm sure we'll get confirmation slightly later. Tom and Tim and Monik, though, having a good old scrapping amongst themselves, 16th and 17th on the circuit, but neither of them want to give up to one of their old foes. It looks like Gillen's got all of his front wing available to him. I wonder if GB also has the same. We get this lovely panning shot. Yep, all still intact. So I wonder, even if they did make the slightest bit of contact with the wall, and they have come away scot-free. Up at the front, though, Razin Chai gets past Karim 70. Tom 97 is still on the scene, but just sat watching for the moment. This is smart racing from the Williams outfit. He'll just sit there and wait. Yellow flag, Timo Mike retires. And that's a safety car, VSC, on the 42nd lap, and that is at the Exeter Castle.
Oh, what's happened there? Because he was at a very interesting angle, and I wonder if that lovely battle we saw him having with Tom may have ended in disaster. Thankfully for Lolanoba, the Mercedes has been removed, so he didn't clatter into the stationary car. Still no safety car being called out. There's a chance it could be upgraded, but I think we've gone long enough for it to just stay as a virtual safety car, which Alex Gillen will be not very happy about. But yeah, Timo Mike retiring, that is a very rare occasion. I think there's only been, 4 or 5 times that he's retired as Hayden Gullis. It's absolutely criminal. Drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. That is most definitely his chance of being the cleanest driver. The only thing that matters realistically in the Craig series, absolutely gone.
Absolutely. Let's Scotty Designs and that guy Vince pass. Let's Vince pass and Scotty Designs to avoid getting into any major battles for them. Of course, now he's pretty much down and out for the rest of this race unless we do see a full safety car. Very unlikely with only 7 or 8 laps to go here in this Grand Prix. Up at the front, Razin Chai, Karim and Tom 97 all in close contention. Alex Gillen only 5.5 seconds back up the road, and I think he's not content with stuck in 4th place. I think he feels like he potentially could get onto at least a podium.
Got the bit between his teeth. Another yellow flag is out. This time it's Tom who's taking a trip off the circuit into the escape road down to the braking zone of turn number 3. Not the first driver to do it, and probably won't be the last. We're going to see some very spicy scraps in the remaining 8 laps of our Azerbaijan Grand Prix. 5.1 seconds the gap between Gillen and Tom 97. It keeps coming down. Is he getting there quicker enough? I'm not sure. Kareem 17 takes the lead back off the hands of Razin Chai, and Tom 97, like you said, is very happy just to play the long game here. Look after these tyres, look after the temperatures, charge the battery, and make a late assault at these 2 former champions that lie in front of him.
Absolutely. It's the patience game for the Williams at the moment. Potentially even see a replication of what we saw in real life Baku just last season, where the 2 leading cars essentially went in towards the barrier and left the door open for 3rd place just to sneak on through. Vince and Hayden having a good scrap. Hayden deciding not to take his drive-through quite yet and does slot in between the Aston Martin and the Haas cars of Vince and Scotty Designs. By the way, Noguera gets past Ricky 03. Those two have not left each other alone for the entirety of this race. They are like old lost lovers that want to spend as much time as they can together.
They most certainly will do. Alex Gillen on the previous lap, yes, we had a virtual safety car, but he was still 1.1 seconds quicker than Razin Chai, who's 0.8 quicker than Kareem 17, and 0.7 quicker than Tom 97. Wasn't quicker than Kareem in the first sector, though. Matched his first sector, a couple of tenths quicker than Razin and Tom 97. He has got the bit between his teeth, most definitely has the Season 2 champion, looking to make it 4 wins in a row. Nobody has done that in the Creator Series before. He's got quite the mountain to climb, but Alex Gillen will be singing, there ain't no mountain high enough at the moment for me to try and get this 4th win.
Absolutely not. It's penalties have come to Ricky 03, 3 seconds to his name, Hayden Gullis, of course, still with that drive-through penalty to his name. They're the only 2 that have fell foul of the FI8 here this afternoon. We're hearing some team radio from Ricky 03.
5 seconds, it's a joke. A joke.
Well, I think someone needs to have a word with him. He hasn't quite got 5 seconds. It's only 3, Ricky, so nothing to write home about at the moment. Change of the lead once again. Razin Chai and Karim 70. Tom still plays bridesmaid.
Alex Gillen looking his last lap. He was slower than Tom 97 by a tenth, 4 tenths quicker than Karim 70, 2 tenths quicker than Razin Chai, as Meraki taking a very wide line through turn number 1, not troubling the apex one jot, and maybe struggling with his brakes ever so slightly down into turn number 2. Bit of a Code Brown moment for the Season 4 champion in the colours of Scarlet. That guy Vince retiring in the pit lane. That is obviously not going to be an intentional safety car because they are banned, and you would be fearing the wrath of one Gareth Allen if you throw it into the barriers now.
Certainly would be. Not a wrath that I'd like to try and face, as Vince's car does come out of the pit lane in towards turn number 2. Scott Taylor will hopefully swing on past with little to no doubts about any carnage that could be caused, and does so indeed. What sets the fastest lap of the race after his earlier pit stop? A fresh set of softs onto that Red Bull racing car. Could be bringing home a bonus point to Milton Keynes, and I think himself and Karim 70 will be very thankful about that one as well. But we see Tom and Lottie Noba getting past that guy Vince's stranded car at the exit of turn 2. He parks up nice and neatly. Hopefully this won't cause a safety car like it has done in previous iterations of the F1 game, but everybody seems to be progressing rather nicely. Razin Chai, Karim 70, Tom, still your top 3. Alex Gillen is now within the 4 seconds, but I fear it could be too little too late.
He is making inroads, as is GB, who set 2 personal bests in the first and middle sector. Emphatic with a personal best in the middle sector as well. Something has gone on here between, is that 3 cars I can see in there? Tom was definitely down there, along with Lolan the lead, changing hands as Karim snatches it back. And I said it wasn't going to be a couple of drivers down there. Lolan did go down there. I obviously didn't see a second car down the escape road. It was just the RB who made a little bit of a Horlicks of it, and well, was in 17th, remaining in 17th, and continuing what has been a difficult start to the new game cycle for Lolanova.
Don't worry, Tom. I don't think you're going insane. I think it was Vince's car parking up at the end. That's why it disappeared from the map and wasn't visible. Alex confirms, actually Alex Heron has just confirmed that in our chat behind the scenes, so that could be interesting. Gillen is putting pressure on the cars in front, but I think he does need to try and put some pressure on them in some way. Potentially some mind games in the next 5 or 6 laps.
It is about a second a lap at this stage now, just to get into the DRS range at the start of lap number 51. He'll be trying to get his chat to say that team radio message, Jensen Button of Canada 2011. We can win this. We can win this, Alex. It's going to be a very tall order. Still as Razin Chai. Oh, he was very unstable. That is not the position that you want to find yourself with a little bit of over-rotation. Tom 97 will potentially be licking his lips, thinking, hang on a minute, there's maybe a little bit of a weakness for this Alpine in front of me.
Certainly is, and I think the pressure that they know Gillen's gaining on them over the course of laps, they all want to try and sort themselves out amongst themselves on the final couple of laps, probably, as we head into 50 and 51. But actually, in the background of shot, you see a wild papaya car come into the background of this camera angle, and that is one Alex Gillen starting to chase them down. He was in the 4s, he's in the 3s. That's how much time he's gained in just 2 or 3 corners.
Is this Alex Gillen or Oscar Piastri? He was, what's this? Half a second quicker in the first sector, half a second quicker again in the middle sector. Hold your horses, everybody. Alex Gillen should be arriving on the scene very, very shortly. Look at this, the top 3 converging on each other. Tom 97 still happy to play third fiddle in this little 3-wheel scrap for first, second, and third. It's Razin and Karim continuing to trade blows and places out in front. Gillen losing time again with the DRS race, but he is so quick in that middle sector.
He was over a second quicker than the car, the front 3 last lap. The only car that was quicker was actually Razin Chai, I believe, who, sorry, just under a second was Razin Chai. The others were all about a second slower than Alex Gillen. They said they needed about a second a lap, and that is what Alex Gillen is showing up with here at the moment. He is pushing, and he's pushing hard.
5 to go. Alex Gillen, 4.5 seconds off the lead. Can he? Surely he can't do it with all the trials and tribulations that Alex Gillen has been embroiled in this Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Would it be quite fitting after the hat-trick of wins he picked up last week in Canada that he goes and makes it 4 in a row, the first driver to do so, and completes what has been a near-perfect start to his Season 10 campaign? The yellow flags are out. Scott Taylor's out of the Grand Prix. It's another virtual safety car. Alex Gillen's not going to be happy about that, because that's going to leave him with even more work to do in his final 4 laps. This is going to halt his charge.
That's a very bizarre place to lose the car. I'm not being skeptical.
It's broken.
I'm not throwing theories out there, but that's just a very strange place for the car to break down.
It is. Alex Gillen will be disappointed that it wasn't a safety car. There is still time for that safety car to be called out. We're running out of laps. I think lap number 49 will be the first where it is too late for the safety car to be deployed. Obviously, we can't finish under safety car conditions. I believe on the game you have to have 2 laps under the safety car or under green flag running at the end of the race. Alex Gillen gets going again as the green flags are flying. He wasn't quicker in the middle sector, so trying to make the most out of this delta. Cream 70 all the way over to the left-hand side, making doubly sure that Tom 97 doesn't think about a move to try and interrupt the little monopoly that him and Razin have got over first and second. And I think that virtual safety car has just killed Alex Gillen's chances. He's lost 6/10 of a second.
Yeah, he lost so much time. He was just heading through turn 19 and turn 20 when the others were essentially on the back straight. And we see Razin losing out, from the race lead to Creme 70. I think he was definitely on the way to potentially winning. If you can cast your mind back to when GB got his first win here in Baku, it was actually Alex Gillen that was chasing him down hand over fist to try and take that away from him. But alas, it was GB that came out successful. I think Gillen felt he had a little bit of vengeance to try and retake that win here in Baku this afternoon. It's not going to happen unless we see carnage in amongst the front 3. It's been known to happen in the last couple of laps, so don't change that dial and don't go anywhere.
Going to need some DRS games, which isn't impossible. Razin, Kareem and Tom 97, all very shrewd, very canny operators. Tom with a little bit of a wobble coming out of the castle section. Alex Gillen won't have lost hope yet. He has taken half a second out of them on this lap so far. He's still catching them. He's still coming very, very quickly. Tom 97 absolutely yanking on the steering lock down into turn number 15, trying to get as close as possible to Razin, give himself an opportunity. Maybe, is this the lap that Tom thinks now's the time to go? Try and get in between the pair of them.
Absolutely. If you're liking the racing action as well, if you're watching over on Twitch, drop a follow. If you're watching over on YouTube, drop a like and a subscribe as well. And if you're watching on TikTok and or Twitter, drop a follow and potentially a like on those lives as well. It does massively appreciate, and it does help the streams as well. Razin Chai retakes the lead on to lap 49 of 51. 3 to go here in the Creator Series Baku Grand Prix, and it's going to be a spicy finish whatever happens.
He tried it. Tom 97 definitely thought this was the time to get in between them. We've seen in previous races, it's not that easy to overtake previous games. F124 in particular, the strategy was be in second place onto the last lap, DRS past the guy in the lead and run off into the distance and pick up the race victory. That has not been the case. We've seen attempts for a last lap overtake. In Spain, round number 1, it was Ben trying to pass Alex Gillen, was unsuccessful. In round number 2 at Silverstone in reverse, it was Kareem on Alex Gillen and was unsuccessful. The 2 Ferraris still trading places. Got to be careful of their Ferrari engine counterpart because it's Formula Kai down the inside of Meraki. Is there enough space left at the apex? Almost clatters the inside barrier, but Meraki staunch in his defence. A very, very good riposte from the Season 4 champion and holds off that assault for the time being.
Fantastic stuff from Meraki. Left just enough room on the inside. Kai, also great sportsmanship. Just hugged that apex like his favourite granny, as well Martin Brundle would say, and managed to make it through unscathed between the 2 drivers. Razin Chai, though, as we watch on board from Karim 70, formerly known as Formula Karim. Tom 97 still just waiting in tow for his opportunity to strike, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a move made on the last run down towards that checkered flag. It's been known to happen before, especially if they've got the option to charge their battery up over the next lap.
There is a huge, huge opportunity for somebody here to pick up their first win of the season. Alex Gillen is still absolutely rapid, by the way. He's taken the gap down by 1.5 seconds on the previous lap and a half. It's back under 4 seconds, but he's going to run out of laps unless there are any DRS gains. Razin Chai has 0.5 second in his back pocket. Kareem 70 is gaining all the time. Can he find the right formula as we start the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix? 50 out of 51. He shapes over to the inside, but maybe just trying to spook Razin. Just show his nose, show that he's there, and just say to the Season 5 champion, hey, I'm the Season 9 champion, I'm the reigning champion, and this is my domain. I can very much take this win from you in the remaining 3 minutes or so.
Yeah, the dummy in the mind game is now well and truly coming out. Tom, I think, moves to the inside just to cool his engine that much, as we have seen a decrease in straight line speed if your engine is overheating over the course of a Grand Prix. We wait and see. Gillen is not approaching as close as he would have liked. I think you need to be within about 1 second, roughly now, if you want to try and make a charge on towards the final lap. He's not dead and buried quite yet. He knows how powerful he is through that second sector, especially out of Castle around 13, 14 and 15. But he has got an almighty task on his hands if he wants to try and pull through. Razin, Karim and Tom, though, as it stands, are your podium for Baku with 1.5 laps to go.
Whose shoes, whose cockpit would you rather be in at the moment? Is it Razin Chai, who would have seen what happened in Spain and in Silverstone? The driver that started the last lap in the lead went on to win the race. Will it be Kareem 70 in second place, trying to right the wrongs of Silverstone? Or will it be Tom 97, potentially trying to cool the car, save the battery and save the tyres for one last assault on lap number 51 and try and get past the pair of them?
Absolutely. It's Karim 17. Don't forget, of course, came up from P18 on the field, is up 16 positions at the moment. Tom's up 2, Gillen's lost 2. Razin Chai is standing on ceremony as we progress on towards the last lap, just in the distance, 2 seconds behind, but that will gain somewhat as we head in towards lap 51 of 51. Tom moves to the inside, cooling the engine for one last hurrah here in Azerbaijan. Who is going to take victory this afternoon?
Well, it's staccato down into turn number 1. Razin Chai had 8 tenths coming out of the final corner. Kareem got it down to 2 tenths per second, and he's ever so close. He's almost pushing the Alpine through turn number 2. This is probably the last opportunity he's going to get. You don't feel like he's going to be close enough on the run up to the line at the end of lap number 51, but Razin looks to have everything under control at the moment. Tom 97 is nowhere near close enough. He's not in the picture at all. As it stands, Razin Chai has got this race in the palm of his hand.
He certainly does. He's got to charge his battery, though, because we know that DRS down towards the checkered flag is going to be absolutely critical for the Red Bull and the Williams that sat behind him. I think Gillen is well and truly out of a championship hope, or at least a podium hope here, unless we see carnage amongst our front 3 in towards the castle section. No mistakes here. It's going to be absolutely vital for the final lap. Is anybody going to get it wrong through Castle's small slide from Formula Karim or Karim 70? It's interesting to see. Tom is slowing down, we're being told, and you see the second Alpine just in front. Team games coming to effect here. This could be Razin Chai's saviour as we round on to turn number 15. This could be Alpine working together fantastically. Tom, who's down and out in 16th place as we head through the DRS detection zone of the exit of turn 19, could be coming to the aid of his friend Razin Chai to give him the DRS. He'll have the battery to burn as well. We round through turn 19. We see Tom in the distance. The DRS will be given to the Alpine cousin. He stands in P1 at the moment. That rear wing will open. It'll gain him victory. He moves out the way. He's going to block Formula Karim, but Razin Chai is the artist in Azerbaijan.
Less than 1/10 of a second, and if Tom Biener wasn't there, Razin Chai was not going to win that race. Kareem was so close coming out of turn number 16. It was a quarter of a second. He would have been thinking there was an opportunity, but Tom Biener with his brain switched all the way up to 11, helping Razin over the line, giving him that one final juicy suck and giving him his first win of the season. I believe his first win in over 15 races, I think. It was, when was it? It was at the start of season number 9 that Razin Chai last picked up a Grand Prix victory, and he gets it by 79 milliseconds. Tom 97 rounding out the podium, and Alex Gillen with a champion's drive, I think it has to be said. Didn't give up right until the very last and only missed out by 3.5 seconds. And he'll be thinking, I probably know where that time is. Charge up to the line, though. Drag race between 2 of the Creator Series GOATs, and it is Hayden Gullis that wins that one over Scotty Designs.
Certainly is indeed. In the Twitch chat, Andy Quinney actually put Alpine strategy last lap, and this was probably a few laps before this even came into contention. And I was thinking to myself, what does that mean? What are we going to see? And then it was, I believe Dan Gilligan in our behind-the-scenes chat just went, Tom will give Razin DRS on the final lap. I hadn't noticed that was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, the entire orchestra comes together. Razin Chai saved by his teammate, got the DRS down towards the start-finish straight as Lolly Nova comes across to round out our order. And what a masterclass in strategy that was. Absolutely phenomenal teamwork. And that is something you just love to see.
Well, what a race. What a finish. That was, well, we had to wait right until the last moment, didn't we? Thought Razin might have had it covered after he held off in the first 2 DRS zones. I didn't think he'd get close enough, Kareem, on the run up to the line, but he most certainly did. But it is Alpine picking up a win for the first time this season. Not all good news, though, because Tom Biener didn't pick up any points with that retirement, but I don't think that matters one jot, considering they have got themselves maximum points with one of their former champions.
Absolutely right. Champagne on the podium for the team based in Enstone. Williams will join them in the name of Tom 97, of course, Karim 70, who finishes just narrowly behind that Alpine. And we'll run through your complete finishing order in just a moment before handing back to to our gentlemen up in the studio. We wait for a bit of a black screen. I don't think we're actually going to get it. Sometimes we get this black screen.
Excellent.
We don't tend to get the full run through. I can do it from telemetry, though. It's Razin Chai that wins from Karim 17. Tom 97 finishes in third. Gillen in fourth. GB in fifth. Meraki in sixth. With Infratic in seventh. Kai in eighth. With Noiguera in ninth. Ricky 03 finishes in 10th. With Sanderson, Hayden Gullis, Scotty Designs, Gwatts finishing in 14th. And then it was Lolly Noba and Tom rounding out your race finishers. Everybody else retiring slightly earlier on. And I didn't quite catch who was the cleanest driver there, Tom.
It was Nogueira who got it, which surprises me a little bit considering he had that excursion in the early stages. Battled back to finish in 9th from 4th on the grid. And you can see the retirements at the bottom. Nick Fires was early on. Tim McMardock had a race to forget, let's say. He was undone by a little bit of a game glitch in the pit lane. And I think it was that guy, Vince. Scott Taylor and Tom being classified, although they retired in the closing stages. What an Azerbaijan Grand Prix. We are going to head back to the studio / the paddock because I'm sure Dan Gilligan and Alex Henn have got quite a lot to digest.